Shut up and sit down.
Hey everybody,
Hey guys.
Chris and Linda Padgett. We're excited, of course, to be with you here on another podcast. The Fam. I'm wearing an amazing tie. I love finding old retro ties at like thrift stores, and this one is high quality, thick polyester. This has got 1960s, 70s vibe, probably 70s.
You probably need some bell bottoms to go with that.
Oh, that's beautiful. I would love that. It's interesting to me how self-image and the way that people look at themselves, people spend a lot of time with that. Now, I know that when people look at me, they think, there's a guy that doesn't spend much time at all worrying about what he wears, or probably worrying a lot about
if they only
self-image.
knew.
But I'm a highly neurotic,
obsessive
person when it comes to certain things.
We all are, to some degree, obsessive about the way we look, or different things about who we are, right? Right now, I'm obsessing over the fact that I'm missing a tooth. I know you people in the podcast land can't see it, but anybody on video, anything you've seen us do recently, I'm missing a front lower tooth. Like,
At least...
not the center one, but it's enough to where it's driving me batty. But I broke my jaw when I was a young teenager, and I've had massive dental issues ever since. And as I've gotten older, it's just starting to really compound, and so I had to deal with a tooth that the root canal would not stop going bad. So they had to take it, and we're in the process of putting an implant. But here I am. See how much time I'm taking explaining this fact that I have a missing tooth. And every person I meet, I want to give this whole explanation to them because I'm so self-conscious about it.
Right. It's like you don't want people to think,
oh, she just is,
She obviously doesn't realize she's missing a tooth.
Yeah.
No, I know I don't have a tooth. Let me explain to you the whole story.
Right.
Here's the
and
origin
I actually
story.
do brush my teeth, like it's not like it just fell out because I'm,
I
bad
don't
dental
always
hygiene.
brush my teeth.
Yeah, that's true. And yet you have good teeth.
You know why? They shellacked mine, man, when I was a kid. I mean, that's got a layer of something on there to secure it. So here's the interesting thing. I asked a question to Linda a little bit ago. I said, "Is there anything about your body image, how you look, that you don't like? Is there anything about how you look that makes you feel even uncomfortable?"
Right.
And she said there was, which I was a little surprised about because...
Well, you have an elevated view of who I am, I think. You see me with rose-colored glasses, I think, but
Well, you are very beautiful. I mean, yeah. But you said...
But yeah, I mean, at this point in my life, sure, my hair bothers me because I'm getting old and it's really thin and it's starting to thin out. I'm afraid I'm going to go bald.
Huh. I mean, I don't know. It just... Right. What did you want? High quality poof? Did you want like some sort of...
No, just thicker would be nice.
That's so funny to me. Because I don't see it as a... I actually think it looks fantastic, so that's kind of weird. You know how many people would love to have like hair?
Oh,
do you remember
certainly.
The 1970s?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? What was that? When did 8 is Enough? Do you remember that TV show?
Right. Mm-hmm. Didn't watch it a lot.
The little
yeah.
Adam kid, his hair was it was almost like
the 70s with the long hair for men. Yeah.
But his hair was like cool, almost like straight down hair. Mine would poof out. The more hair I get, the more poofy it becomes.
Right, because you have some curl to your hair. Right.
Yeah, there was... It's interesting how often we compare ourselves with other people. Self-image, personalities, kind of certain gifts and talents. It's almost like from the very beginning, we have seen a way to live, and the way to live is best done by comparing ourselves with other people. It's unbelievable.
Right, it is. It's this constant...
not measuring up.
We don't measure up. Never good enough. I'll never, ever be good enough. Even those who have great self-esteem will always find ways to think that they could improve or wish they were something different. But yeah, we're in our own eyes never good enough.
I'm fascinated with this, that the people that you would assume just by looking at them that they have it all together, they must be the most confident and secure people on the planet, and are struggling with the exact same things that you are, that I am.
Right.
That's mind-blowing to me.
Right. Especially people in a public eye. You have I've always heard it. Some of the most renowned actors, comedians struggle with anxiety and depression and bad self-image, that they struggle with all the same things that we do. But you would look at them and think, oh, they must be,
but look how happy they are.
right, or they must have a great amount of self-confidence to do what they do. But I don't think in cases like that, a person who's in the limelight, who struggles with self-image and insecurity, it's not because they have great self-image that they're doing what they're doing because there's something inside them that compels them to do it, despite the fact that they feel very insecure. And honestly, there is nothing that will mess with your self-image better and faster than becoming public.
Right.
As soon as you enter the public world, whether it's through blogging, writing, posting your opinion on social media,
Right.
speaking, singing, acting, whatever it is that you're doing, as soon as you enter that public domain, you are going to be open to everybody telling you how you don't measure up, and it's hard.
But I think it's even before that. I think that the problems start for most people when they're young. And just even my certain scenario, I remember that one of my parents said something like, Chris, your butt's getting kind of big. And I got like so like neurotic about it that like I almost developed an eating disorder because I didn't want to be fat. And people in my family have struggled with weight issues, and so it was constantly someone was on a diet, somebody was counting calories, somebody felt that they weren't comparing with how they were supposed to look weight-wise. And I swear to you, it's a constant dialogue in my brain with calories and how fat I am or not fat I am. Like it's never enough. Like it's never enough. I could never be almost skinny enough. In my brain, I feel like I need to be at 175. Well, I haven't been at 175 since I was like a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Outside of like a worm eating me from the inside out. I mean, I'm not dropping like that. But it's funny how I think if I got to that weight, then I would be happy. But how that is, in a way, that's kind of the lie.
There's always something
there's
out
always
there
something
that will finish it for you, make you officially happy, make you content with who you are, with your life. There's always it's just beyond your reach, always, no matter what it is. You'll
just beyond the river bend.
Right. So you might be looking for a relationship, and then you have a great relationship, and then you'll be looking for children, and then you'll have children, and you're looking for financial security. I mean, there's always something that's just out of your reach. And so what is the solution? Certainly, we don't have all the answers because we struggle with it ourselves. But what is the solution? How do we find contentment in our life with who we are so that we don't have this dialogue, like you said, going on in your head all the time?
So here's an interesting thing. I've been doing the last few days, and it'll be a few more to come, talks at a Catholic high school in our area. And one of the main messages, and I say this a lot when I speak to teens, is that you're not an accident. You might be a surprise to your parents, but you're not an accident. Like, God doesn't make accidents. And how different and unique each kid is. And I look at the diversity in that room, and it's so amazing to me. Just the hairstyles and complexion of skin, and just the way that their bodies are, how they carry weight, and it's funny to me, like why would I ever wish or want, and I never would, any of my children or any other child to be exactly the same. Even for me, I've given the example, my best friends were twins growing up, identical twins, but the truth is I could tell them apart, and there were differences and uniquenesses that were appreciated by me. And it's odd to me in a way how a kid who has what every other child would envy in terms of, let's say, hair, looks at themselves in the mirror and says, I wish my hair were different.
Right.
Like, that blows my mind.
Or they're okay with their hair, but they wish their arms looked stronger, or they weren't so skinny, or they whatever. I mean, whatever it could be. It's something different that, okay, maybe I'm okay with my hair, but I wish this was different about me.
So as
Right?
and so as I'm speaking to these kids, the thing I've realized is that I'll say, you're unrepeatable, right? You need to see the beauty of who you are. I think to myself, actually, that's pretty good advice. I should
You
probably
should listen to
I
that,
should
yeah.
think about that some more. Now, I know that there are many things about me that I love, but I still got that list in my mind of, if I could change these things, wouldn't it be interesting how happy would I be? And but you were talking about something that has been kind of a lifestyle for you as of late. You've been getting into the habit of reflecting in a way that is helping to change some of those patterns.
Right. It's in my own personal time with God, devotion, working on contemplative prayer, and which is really a focus on Christ's love for us, Him speaking to us, His word in our life, not so much us praying, oh, I have all these prayers I need to rattle off every single day, or I have this that's really bothering me, let me just dump it on God, which all those are important and great too. But the idea of just sitting with Jesus and letting Him reveal His heart to us, or His heart to me, and to reveal who I am to Him, has been a beautiful journey lately. And the same thing, and that I for me, it's, yeah, I can find things that I definitely wish I could change, but I'm such a doer. I'm always working at improving and doing better and doing, how am I supposed to do this correctly? How do I have a correct relationship with God? And His word for me lately has been, stop doing, just be with me, be. Just be. We're human beings, not human doings. And so just to be. And when we're there, when we take that time to spend alone with God, that's where we find who our true identity is. We see ourselves through His eyes. And that's where we'll find contentment and peace. And so in those moments when we feel, oh, I wish this was different about me, to pull out of that and enter into the heart of the Father and say, but who do you say that I am, God?
So it's interesting to me, because I think the reason this is such a hard process is, one, it's not an instantaneous mental change. Do this secret little thing and then everything's different.
Right.
But it's really almost like learning a whole new way of living and thinking and being. So look at it like this. I'm a kid. I'm growing up in a house where so much is based on how you look, and second guessing, how you look, and constant examination of calories. And so I'm watching that pattern during the most formative years of my life, ultimately seeing and hearing and realizing I'm not, this isn't good enough. This is what it has to be like to be better. There's a million things that we could go off of tangent-wise for that, but if you practice that kind of mentality your whole life, and then you, all of a sudden as an adult, find that you're doing the same things that your parents had done, it's because that's the foundation that you had laid. Mm-hmm. So to get a whole new way of thinking is so almost terrifying, because it's almost like it's impossible to imagine a different way of thinking, of being, of living.
Right. I think that St. Therese is my girl. She's been my girl lately, Therese of Lisieux, and she struggled with this identity of who she was, I believe. She desired to be great. She desired to do great things for God, and what she resolved herself to be is that she is the spouse. She is God's spouse, the spouse of Jesus, and that her vocation is love, right? And we've all heard that. St. Therese's vocation is love, her vocation is love. But what does that really mean? It's not, but in my mind, it's like, well, vocation is love, that means I do this, this, and this, and this to show my love. But, well, for her, it was her vocation is love, is that she is God's child, that she is in the heart of the Father, residing in that heart of the Father and being God's child, and that's where she found her vocation. That's where she found her identity. And so for me, it's that I in reading this and studying this, I realized that Jesus for me is the lover of my soul. That's who He is. And what that means to me is it makes me feel very vulnerable to think of Jesus as the lover of my soul, because my soul is my most inner part, the core of who I am. And if he loves that, it makes me so vulnerable. It makes me so transparent. That means he can see that core. If he loves it that dearly, he can see that core. And he loves everything about that core. He is the lover of that very being of who I am. And if I rest in that at any moment, if I rest in that, when I'm fighting with these thoughts of not measuring up, never being good enough, that if I rest in this thought of Jesus is the lover of my soul, he knows the core of who I am and loves it more completely than anything anybody on earth could ever possibly love. That is where, in that is where I'll find my identity. In that is where I will find contentment with who I am, because I will finally really see who I am, which I am the lover of Jesus. He loves me so perfectly and completely.
It's interesting because I think that verbiage is not something that's easy for people to get their heads around.
No, me either.
I think it's almost like a lifetime experience of learning what it's like to be loved by God that radically.
All right. For me, it's been a journey, very many months of a journey for this, and I have it. It's only on the surface. It's right there where I can explain it. It's good enough. It's embedded in me enough for me to be able to verbalize it to you, but it's not embedded enough in me to walk in it completely, and that's okay, because this is a whole new life for me of learning to walk with Christ as the lover of my soul, and it's going to be a whole life of learning to do that, and that's okay. But my measuring, me the doer, wants to measure how well am I doing that so far. Am I doing okay with that? And that doesn't, Jesus doesn't want me to be there. He doesn't want me to measure. He wants me just to be. And but the thing is whenever I feel like I'm not measuring up, or I'm comparing myself, am I being effective in ministry? Is my work am I being validated in the work that I do? And that's where I have to shift my focus and enter into the heart and say, but Jesus, who am I to you? Who am I to you?
I love that. It's interesting. When I do these talks to the kids, I give them 3 points. It's very simple. Jesus picks you, he prepares you, and he protects you. He picks you like there's nobody like you. You're unrepeatable. There is no one's going to dream the dreams that you dream, think the thoughts that you think, sing the way you sing, tell a story the way you tell a story. I mean, you're unrepeatable. He prepares you. All those things and experiences and life kind of moments, they prepare you to be the man and the woman that you're going to be. And he protects you, gives you enough time to live this life to be the saint that you're called to be. And in a lot of ways, I feel like we are constantly having to examine those 3 points, even as adults. That I'm chosen by God. Yes, I don't always look the way I want to look or communicate the way I want to communicate, but you're going to take this moment. You've chosen me to be here, and you're preparing me. All experiences, they're in your hands. So all moments, they're in your hands, and you can do something good out of even a mess. And you've given me time to be the saint that I'm called to be. It's like almost like the constant reminder. And I feel like if we could actually get to that point where we see the way that God sees us, like what drew him to cause and will our existence in the first place, like God's intentionally saying, you must exist here in time and space. I want you here. So there we are. Like if we could see the heart of the Father, that would change the whole way that we look at ourselves. Like I don't think it would be harder for us to look in the mirror and say, I wish I was different, because we'd counter it with God, but God picked me to be here right now. I wish I had their story. No, he's preparing us to have our story. The comparison game it's a death trap.
Right. But I think if we keep it at an intellectual level, we'll never fully grasp that. We have to enter into that relationship. And we have to stop the evaluating of that relationship with God and stop keeping it at the intellectual level. Well, God loves me. He's picked me, and he's, I'm unique, and he's chosen me to be here.
Are you making fun of my talk?
I'm not. It's a great talk. I've heard it many times, and it's a great talk. But the problem is, for me, my temptation is to keep it there at that intellectual level, because I don't understand. In my mind, everything I do, any battle I'm going to fight is going to be won by understanding that and knowing it. But that's so not true. We are so much more than intellect and knowing and knowledge. We are a complete package of emotion, of imagination, of humor, of feelings, of desires and dreams, and it's all of that package that needs to enter in to this reality of who is Jesus to me, who am I to Jesus, and that takes practice of silence, sitting and just being and entering in to that relationship. It's not going to be that the change in our understanding of who we are will not take place only on a cognitive level. It has to take place in silence, of contemplation, of allowing God to speak into our hearts, allowing our imagination to be engaged, allowing our desires, our everything about us, our emotions to be engaged in order to really be transformed.
Yeah, it's interesting, the idea of being. I've been reflecting on that a little bit this year too, of just being with Jesus. Or I think ultimately it even started about a year or so ago, where I felt like the Lord spoke to me and he said, I am enough. And I think part of the comparison is this constant feeling like I need to do something in order to fit in, or I need to be a certain way in order to belong. And these ideas of wanting to belong and wanting to fit in, they really can be ultimately like petri dishes for insecurities and comparison. Mm-hmm. And but if you allow the Lord to be enough, like that, spending time with just allowing him to meet that need, it would change everything about your self-image. It would change how you treat other people. It would change your whole perspective on what this thing called life really is. Well, this is the kind of topic that we could actually spend a lot of time exploring, and so I have a feeling we'll be revisiting this in a future podcast. But ultimately, we want to invite you to try to look at yourself from the perspective of God. That's going to be hard for many of you, but know that God is faithful in his persistent love for you. He just wants to be with you, and you have the chance to just be with him. And sometimes, quite honestly, that's enough. So if you want to find out more about what we're doing with the ministry, feel free to email us, linda@catholicfam.org or chris@catholicfam.org. We want to encourage you. You are so special, and don't worry about comparing yourself to other people. The truth is, they're probably just as insecure and struggling as you are. So let God's perspective be that which you breathe in and soak and believe. God bless.